You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out to Germantown Community Theater. Thank you to some of our new guests and some of our old guests and new guests and old guests, and thank you for being here. Tonight we're going to be talking about You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, which is our next show here on the GCT stage, which opens 1 week from tonight. So to get us started, we have a beautiful group of men with us. So I'm going to sit down and let them introduce themselves. Justin, please kick us off.
I'm Justin Asher. I'm the director.
I'm Oakley, Weddle, and I play Charlie Brown in the youth cast.
I'm Chase Ring. I'm the assistant director, and I'm a King of the Hill enthusiast.
And I'm Stuart Turner. I'm playing Charlie Brown in the adult cast.
All right. So, for starters, why don't we go down the line again and just tell us a little more about you, other than what you are outside of your involvement to You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
I am the technical director here at GCT, and there's not a lot more to me other than that.
There's not a lot of time.
It kind of consumes you.
You didn't know that when I hired you.
Did not know. No, did not know. But I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Great.
I'm homeschooled, and I'm a 7th grader.
All right. Great.
Well, I like to stay active in the theater community, so I do whatever I can outside of GCT. I actually have a soft spot in my heart for GCT, but that's neither here nor there. Also, outside of the theater, I like to play video games, read comic books. I really am just a big nerd. So, if you didn't know that already,
Right. For the viewing audience, both at home and here in theater, we refer to Chase as our resident clown. So it's good to have him here with us today. Stuart?
I'm an optician at Southern College of Optometry. I work at their satellite clinic on the University of Memphis campus, and I do theater at various theaters around town as well.
Yeah, and this is not your first time to appear on the stage this year.
No, I was in the season opener company. I played Perry in company.
And Chase, this is not your first time to appear or be involved.
This is actually my third time.
Right.
Yeah, first time I was Toby Belch in 12th Night, directed by Justin Asher, and then after that I was Justin Fogg in Go Back for Murder, directed by Ryan Cowan.
And even after acting for Justin, he's still involved with you.
Yeah.
Like a penance. One day you'll climb out of purgatory. And Oakley, this is not your first appearance on the GCT stage either.
It is not. This year, I stage managed the Velveteen Rabbit this Christmas.
We had some fun with that show.
You did Charlottesville too, didn't you?
Charlottesville last year. It was a children's production at the Jewish Community Center.
That's right. And Justin, you already said that you're way too involved here. So very good. So welcome. I just want to make a quick comment that it looks like we're about to do an improv sketch with you all.
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Imagine you're on a bus.
Yeah.
There you go. So why don't you take a couple minutes and just tell us about the show?
Well, Charlie Brown, obviously based on the Charles Schultz character. We are doing the revival version, which I believe had its, it was
Late 90s,
97, 98.
somewhere in there.
So I think it was 1990, I think in 1998 when they opened it on Broadway. It had a great run. It has the majority of all of the songs from the original, but all of the songs from the original have been updated. It's made it a lot more. It has a quicker. It has this version has a quicker pace than the old one did. They took out the character Peppermint Patty and put in the character Sally, Charlie's little sister. In the beginning stages of the comic, even though it's been around forever, Peppermint Patty had a stronger influence in the comic than Sally did. And when they did the revival, they decided to take out that character because she didn't really fade in the comics, but she was used less and less, and they replaced her with a more well-known character at the time.
So when was the original?
The original was 1967.
Was it in late 60s? I
Yes.
can remember if it was like 60s or early 70s.
Andrea
I know
Martin.
It was originally done, it was just a piano and some actors, and that's pretty much it.
Andrea Martin was the original Lucy.
Right, it was never intended to be like a stage play, right? I think it was like a cabaret concert.
It was,
Right.
it was an off-Broadway thing.
Right. Okay. So, to the Charlie Browns, tell us, what's it like to play that character?
Well, obviously, I'm a little further removed from the age of Charlie than he is. But when you're playing something that is a part of the American consciousness, you have to do things that people know. You know, you have to bring some things to it that are familiar to them while still doing your own take on the character. So there has to be a fine line between what everybody knows and what you're doing. Plus, when you see Charlie Brown on the cartoons that you see, it's really low key, and I don't think that can play as well on stage. You have to beef up your energy a little and things like that. I don't know. It's fun to play a little kid again. It is. This show especially, it's a day in the life of Charlie Brown, and the last song in the show, Happiness, it kind of makes you remember things that really brought joy to your life when you were little. Simple things that you forget when you grow up. An ice cream cone, you know? Things that you don't think about anymore because we're so busy doing everything else.
Oakley? What's it like to feel like a kid again?
How long have you not been a kid?
Well, it's I've watched a lot of the old movies and the comics. I read those, and I think they're very different from the show. Like Stuart said, he's a lot more energetic in the show a little bit. I like to change up characters, like he said. But yeah, there is a fine line of what you can change up because he's such a historical character, just like he just said.
All right. Now, just a question to the two of you again. Have you shared notes? Have you shared some thoughts on playing the role, or have you both taken different approaches to it?
Well, there are times when if we're here together and we get to see things that they're doing, there are things that I'll steal from him. I don't know if I'll steal from me or not. But he has a different perspective than I do.
Sure.
And so he's going to naturally do things. I think he has really good instincts, and he'll naturally do things that I wouldn't think to do. And I think the reverse is true as well. I will do things that he wouldn't think to do. So it's nice to see those, and some of our things are completely unique. And like I said, some things I've stolen from him, and some things he's taken from me.
Definitely, I have taken a lot of things from you. Like last night, I was like, "Oh, Mr. Justin, can I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that?" He was like, "Sure." And I was like,
Well, we can try. we can try. You never say yes or no right off the bat.
Well, yeah, you ask me questions all the time. So Chase, what's it like being the assistant director? Tell us what role that is. We've not interviewed an assistant director.
Well, that's what's kind of interesting, right? I mean, assistant director is, well, I say that because assistant director is kind of this term, right? It's kind of thrown around in the theater. You know, some people think it's kind of like a glorified stage manager. Some people think it's just a gopher. right? But my interpretation of the assistant director is the director is kind of like, you know, the captain of a ship, right? And then your assistant director is, you know, your helmsman, right? You know, and so every choice that Justin makes, you know, I'm behind him 100%, and every choice I make, he's behind me 80. But you know, as assistant director, I have to say that the things I've learned from this position are, you know, I have a much larger appreciation for the art of theater itself. And I don't mean to take this, you know, artsy-fartsy, so forgive me if I start to ramble.
Too late.
I have a lot more appreciation for, you know, before being an assistant director, you know, I was just an actor on stage, and so I was more focused on, you know, the acting, the characters in line. Now I'm more focused on the show as a whole, the structure, you know, how are we beginning, how are we ending, kind of melding, and I'm really appreciating being able to fit into the mold that Justin has created.
So Justin, what is your interpretation of an assistant?
Every once in a while, the director needs coffee.
And sometimes the children are too far away to hit. So the assistant director brings them within arm's reach.
Those are fantastic answers.
Yes.
Now, in all honesty, the two of you have worked together before, and so how is this different in the relationship working on this show than it was in the previous shows? Because before you directed Chase, and now you get to work somewhat side by side, 80-20. But talk to us about that. How is that different, or how much is it the same?
It's really not that different, other than where he's sitting. He's still a smart mouth, and
I appreciate that, and I tell him all the time, you are so stupid, you are so stupid. But with things like this, you have to be stupid.
you can't take anything that goes on in this kind of situation seriously. We try to make everything as bright and as funny and as stupid as we possibly can.
And I assume there was some delegation. Did you direct every bit of it, or did you delegate some things?
I directed I'll say 80% of it. I gave him 2 scenes to work with the children, and he did baseball game in the youth cast, and he did Glee Club in the youth cast. And I had my own concepts for them. Well, I had my own concept for Glee Club that I wanted, and then when I watched his, I thought, I'll just go ahead and stick with that. So, no, he did a really, really good job, and I decided to. It also makes, and I decided to stick with it almost verbatim. It makes it easier for the lighting designer.
Sure.
You can't have necessarily, like I had them back here in a completely different configuration, where he brought them front and center. So it made it easier, and he made nice choices and developed a nice picture. So we stuck with it with the adult cast as well.
That's great. So what attracted you to this show? And we'll just go down the line. I just want to hear why did you say I want to do Your Good Man, Charlie Brown?
It was my first show to do in community theater when I was in high school, and I played Stuart, and I fell in love with it then, and it's never gotten old. And when they revamped it and they brought around the revival, it was I think the year after my senior year of high school. I fell in love with it all over again because everything was new and it was fresh and it was upbeat, and a lot more jokes, a lot more one-liners.
Well, my family and we've always loved the Peanuts, and so I was like, when they announced the season, I was like, oh, that's such a good show. I should audition for that. And I did.
Great.
So funny story, Your Good Man, Charlie Brown and I actually have a rich history. So I went to Rhodes College and I was on their play-finding committee for my sophomore year and my senior year there. And both years, Your Good Man, Charlie Brown came up on the play-finding committee. And so my sophomore year was the first time I'd ever been exposed to it, so they made us copies of the CDs and gave us copies of the script to read through and listen through. And Rhodes has this motto in the McCoy Theater is we do shows that ask big questions. And so I was looking at Charlie Brown, and I was like, God, this show is terrible. It doesn't ask any big questions. It's just a bunch of kids being ridiculous, yada, yada, yada. And so I was done with it my sophomore year, and then it came up again my senior year, and I wouldn't even consider it. I was like, no, this is terrible. I hate this. Why are we even considering this? It doesn't ask big questions. So fast forward to when we were doing 12th Night with Justin, and he was mentioning that he was going to be directing Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. And at the time, I was really interested in becoming, considering my options for directing. And so I thought, well, it would be a great opportunity for me to pursue an assistant directorship, almost like an internship situation. And so I asked him, I said, hey, if you'd like extra hands, I know you're working with GCast, I would love to be considered for the role of, assistant director, if you would. And he said, yeah, he said, I'd love to have you on board. And through this process, I've actually come to really, really dig this show. I mean, it does ask big questions that I might not have considered, 5 years ago. So I can appreciate it a lot more.
But who is Socrates?
Like, who is Socrates?
I knew that was going to be a long answer.
Big questions. Same as Justin, I played Snoopy in high school several years ago, and but it was the old version. I wanted to do the new version, and I like working with Justin. We're good friends, and I like the way he works, and so I wanted to work with him again. So I came to try it out.
And of course, you were all drawn here because it's GCT.
Absolutely.
I do love GCT. It is. I feel like this is the first theater in Memphis that believed in me. That gave me a role, that let me do things here. Besides staying back in the chorus somewhere.
I just wanted to give you all a line read there. So, so Oakley, tell us about the other members of the youth cast.
Well, the person that plays Schroeder, his name is Bailey Dumbo. Is that how you pronounce it? I just want to make sure. And everyone in this cast is awesome. And Linus is Carson Scott. I knew that. And my sister Sally Brown is played by Katie Cotton, and Lucy Van Pelt is played by Rachel Atkins, and my dog Snoopy is played by Gia Welsh.
Okay, great. Your turn, Stuart. Tell us about the cast.
Okay, well, Gia Welch is also playing Snoopy in the adult cast. Nicole Pritchard is playing Lucy. Ashley, I always do.
David
Is it David Warner? I always do Sizemore. She is Sally, and Adam Woodruff is playing Schroeder, and Tori Eggers is playing Linus.
Now, it's interesting that you have the same actors playing Snoopy. There's got to be a story there.
There is.
There is.
Fun too.
An injury sustained during a rehearsal, specifically during Beethoven Day. Jacqueline Suffel was our adult Snoopy, and decided she was jumping off of the boxes, and when she jumped off the boxes, she decided she was going to go for a fame jump. And when she jumped and kicked her legs behind her, she was very excited about it. She hit the ceiling, and when she punched the ceiling, it kind of threw her off, and when she landed, she hurt her leg. Tore her ACL, her meniscus, and fractured her tibia.
Yep.
From this high.
It was a much more serious injury.
Lowered her credit rating, lowered it down.
Just a bad
That's tough. Jacqueline's a good friend of GCT's, and we know that you all will miss her, and we certainly will as well. And bravo to Gia for stepping in and playing the role in both casts, because she's going to be one tired puppy.
One tired puppy. No pun intended.
So, one of the questions we ask all the time at Inside GCT is to tell us about your creative process and how we got to this set and to these actors playing the roles. And then when we get to you guys talking about your creative process, tell us about how do you go about creating this character, which you sort of did earlier, but really talk to us more about from the actor perspective. So, Justin and Chase, tell us, how do we get to this? How did this come into being?
I had two kind of words in mind that I wanted to convey. One was like a rock concert. I wanted that, and I wanted it to be, I'll say three, a celebration and for it to just be joyous. And I think that this kind of speaks to that. You can't see everything. Some things are kind of literal, not literal. Everything's kind of interpreted. Like even the Charlie Brown stripe, it's not kept yellow. It's all the primary colors. Just wanted to include it all just bright and fun and to give them something to look at from everywhere, from like the makeshift stars above their heads to the flashing blinders on the sides and the bright vivid stripe around the edge. I think it speaks to all the characters, and it also speaks to all their personalities. That's about it.
So, Chase, for you, tell us about your creative process for those 2 scenes that you were given.
Yeah, so I actually, I'm hesitant to take any other credit because Justin really did. I mean, this is his brainchild, and so I have to applaud him for that because this really is, I'm admiring the colors and just the setup myself. But in terms of the creative process for the scene that I was given, Justin and I actually spoke at length about the show before we even cast it, and he said, I'd like to give you some scenes to work on, do you have any in mind? And at the time I was listening to the soundtrack almost religiously, and I said, well, actually, I have, some fun ideas for baseball game. I would love to be able to work on that and Glee Club as well. He said, great. He said, because I don't like baseball. I said, awesome. And so my creative process kind of stems from, again, my experience in the theater is strictly as an actor. I've never done really anything in terms of backstage work, and so I kind of approached it from an actor standpoint, and that what did I want this moment to say, right? And so Charlie Brown, his character just has the worst luck. I mean, if you're familiar with the comic strips, you're familiar with the movies, he just, nothing really ever goes his way. And Baseball Game is the one scene, it's not the only scene, but it's the one scene that stuck out to me as the chance there might be hope, the chance something might go Charlie's way. And I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone, but that was my thought process. Is I want this to be the one moment in the show where everyone in the audience feels as excited about this baseball game as all of these peanuts on stage.
That's great. So, Oakley, tell us about being an actor and what process do you take as an actor to undertake a role?
Well, like I said before, I definitely look at past things like movies and comic strips and everything like that, and I read the script over and over and over and just see. When I first read the script, I'm like, oh, I could do that. That would be funny. That would be funny. I love comedy a lot. I like to be funny. And so I'm like, oh, I could use that facial expression. I could use that. And definitely that, yeah.
That's great. Stuart?
Well, first, I mean, if you're familiar with the Peanuts, Charlie Brown is a little bit of a depressive, but there is always a glimmer of hope about him. So it's like he's an optimistic depressive, if that makes any sense. And so I think that you always have to keep that level of optimism and hope there for this character. And as Oakley said, you read the script over and over and you think of things that you can do, but I don't think that you can really solidify anything until you get to the rehearsal process. Because Nicole as Lucy may bring something totally different than what I may hear in my head. Or, so I've got to depend on the other actors before I can really shape my character. And this cast is, I feel like our cast is really melded together. And we play off each other well. So I don't look at this show as like we have Charlie Brown, maybe the title role, but this is a definite ensemble cast. Without any one piece, it's going to break down.
Sure.
I will say this is one of the most difficult shows that I've ever memorized because it's not really linear. It's little vignettes that happen. And so actually trying to tell a story is not going to work out. This vignette is its own thing, this vignette is its own thing. But it does give an overview of a day in the life of Charlie Brown.
You were going to say something?
God, I forgot it.
Okay, sorry.
I didn't mean to keep
What
that.
happens more?
So, before we get into the big questions, my question to you is, what is one of your favorite moments thus far in this process? Something that has happened in a rehearsal that is your favorite.
Start down there.
Chase is really chatty.
Well, one thing that I do like to do is I warned the cast at the beginning. I said one of the things I like to do when I remember is I like to do a quote of the night.
Okay.
And we're lucky to have two casts, so I was able to actually, I was able to do two quotes, one for the adult cast and one for the youth cast. And so, honestly, some of my favorite moments have been sitting in the rehearsal hall and listening to some of these kids and some of these adults, and just the things that come out of their mouth. And it's like, when they knew that I was doing quote of the night, a lot of them would kind of vibe. Quote of the night. So then it became really ridiculous. But those moments of honesty that come out, one of my personal favorite moments, and it's going to be on Stuart, so I have to apologize for that. But the adults came in, and Charlie Brown was doing some dance number, I can't remember, and he swung he's like, oh God, and Justin looked at him and said, oh no, Charlie Brown broke a hip. And Stuart looked at him, deadpan eyes, and said, don't you even joke.
That was after Jacqueline's injury. And
We don't talk about illnesses or injuries.
We did say it would be a good idea to have a geriatric Charlie Brown cast. They have a youth, an adult, and then just an old Charlie Brown cast.
That's next season. We'll see how ticket sales go.
Awesome.
favorite moment. It's always nice because I'm not a dancer. Not that the dances are extremely difficult in this even, but when we as a cast get something solid, it's very exciting for all of us. Yes, and we encourage each other. That's what I like about it. My entire cast is very supportive. I think that their cast is very supportive of us. We're supportive of them. I think that's one of the things that I've enjoyed most about this is the camaraderie that we've developed. And there's several people that I've never worked with before in this, so there's always new friendships that you forge, and those will be around for a very long time.
Sure.
I think my favorite moment, I actually have two, and I'll be quick. My first blocking rehearsal, I think that was my favorite rehearsal when we started blocking. And then the second was, we had a long rehearsal on a Saturday, and we had a lunch break. And a lot of the cast went to McAllister's, and we talked, and we bonded, and it was really fun. And I think that was probably my favorite part.
I'm going to be political and say I don't have one specific favorite. It's nice to see.
Miss America, lady.
Every time I come through the door, and it doesn't matter how long the day has been, and there have been several long, very long days, I laugh when I see these people, when I see these idiots running around and bouncing off the walls and trying new things all the time. When I see the level of love and trust that they have for one another, it's an awesome thing to watch. And it feels a little weird to be separated from that and to watch it go on in front of you, because I've always been on the other side of that and been part of that. And to watch it from this side it's you're a little bit separated, but it's a very beautiful thing to watch.
That's a very sweet way to end that. So thank you for that. All right, so we're going to do the famous Inside the Actor Studio questions in quick fire fashion. So down the line, left to right, for me, what is your favorite word?
Oh no. This is the left.
Just don't take mine.
Try.
Yes.
Facetious.
Okay, very good. In opposite fashion, what is your least favorite word?
Moist.
Puss.
Ooh.
I don't like that one either.
No.
I'm really terrified by this question. What turns you on going this way?
Nothing in this world turns me on more than a humble nature in somebody.
Rehearsal.
Kenny Rogers.
Somebody that can make me laugh.
All right, so what turns you off in opposite direction?
Dishonesty.
Kenny Loggins.
Math.
War. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, change it up a little. Going this way. What sound do you love?
Buzz.
Wait, what was it?
Buzz.
Buzz?
As cliche as this is, baby's laughter. I love little coo. I love it. Oh, that's it.
Closest to the top back one.
Breaking glass.
sound do you hate going this way?
That.
The alarm clock.
Like those old ringing telephones that have like an actual ring, not the one that beep. Oh.
Somebody dragging their hand on like saran wrap.
All right, so much to the chagrin of Chase Ring, since this is a children's show, this question is, what is your favorite curse word? But I'd like to amend that. I'd like to know only the first letter of your
I would like
favorite
to
curse word.
point out that he got it out before you could even.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's no surprise to Chase. So, first letter of your favorite curse word, and we're jumping over Oakley.
You're not allowed to
We're
know.
not-
Can you do this up there?
First,
Cover
first
that
letter-
baby's ears.
First letter only going this way.
D.
V. C.
Right.
Mine's Italian.
We don't care. All right, now Oakley gets to jump back in on this question. What profession, other than yours, for the adults and Oakley, think of a profession. What profession would you like to attempt?
I always wanted to be a butler. No joke. Someone's laughing. I have been, yeah. That has nothing to do with that, by the way. Yeah.
Chef.
A drunk housewife.
I have to say chef as well.
Okay, what profession would you not like to do going this way?
Sanitation worker.
I wouldn't want to be on the cleanup crew after New Year's Eve in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Anything having to do with math.
Really dislikes math.
I've always been stupid at spelling.
Anything to do with Chase Ring.
Okay, last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I told you to stop worrying.
Great job.
Well done, my good and faithful servant.
Good job.
All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us today. What I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to have a last word, to tell the people who are here, to tell the people who are watching why they should come see Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. So whenever any one of you can jump in, just let it speak.
Because you haven't seen a production of Charlie Brown like you have seen this one. It's rapid fire. There is something for everyone, for adults and for children. It's clean. There's nothing awkward about it, and there will be no awkward conversations in the car on the way home from the theater. It's got something for everybody.
It is so fun. It's great for kids. And if you just want to feel happy, come see the show. It's a feel-good show.
There is so much high theater out there. There really is. There really, and the world is too dark, and it is too much is going on for me to have to sit through a production of some god-awful Samuel Beckett play. No, come see Charlie Brown, because come in here for the next hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, we're going to make you forget about all the crap that is going on in your life. We're going to make you laugh. We're going to make you love. We're going to remind you what happiness truly means.
It's a fun, funny evening. Smile, be happy, and just enjoy it. I mean, it's something to just sit and enjoy. That's what it's for.
It's not changing lives, it's just here to entertain you.
It might be changing
I
lives.
don't know, change mine.
You put a smile on your face, and sometimes you end the day, and you're down and frustrated. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming and joining us today, and thank you to all of you. And please come out and see Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. Thank you.